Hi everybody, welcome back to 4AR People. My name is Aliah, and today's video is just going to be a bunch of explaining things, but not in a boring way. So you may have heard a lot about Medicaid cuts recently, especially with Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill, whatever. You may have heard that Medicaid cuts were a big part of that. And so I want to explain to you like kind of what Medicaid cuts mean for you specifically here in the state of Arkansas. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you check out the whole video and let's get into it. All right, so first I want to explain a little bit about what Medicaid is. What even is it? I think a lot of people know that Medicaid refers to like healthcare coverage of people, but like what exactly is it? So Medicaid is the primary program that provides comprehensive coverage of health and long-term care to about 83 million low-income Americans nationwide. Just to put in perspective about like exactly how many people are like covered by Medicaid, nationally, roughly about 1 in 5 people have Medicaid, and about 41% of all births in the United States are covered by Medicaid. So that's a lot. That's quite a lot of people. That's why it's so relevant, and that's why people get so scared when we have Medicaid cuts, because that means a lot of people will lose their coverage if Medicaid is cut. And then rates of Medicaid coverage are higher in states with lower average incomes and lower rates of health care provided by employers. So the like median salary in the state of Arkansas is like less than $50,000 a year. So Arkansas is obviously going to be on that higher percent. So about 25% of Arkansans report having Medicaid, which, considering our population, which is about 3.9 million people, that's actually quite a lot of people. So keep that in mind. And then Medicaid, obviously, it's jointly funded by federal government and state governments. So we have like a match program, right? And so Arkansas gets more from the federal government regarding Medicaid than other states who don't have as, or who do have more money coming in than us. So Arkansas gets more because we don't have as much money coming in. And that's like in regards to our population, our average median salary, right? Like that makes complete sense. And also, I want to note that people who qualify for Medicaid based on like age or disability, those people account for more than half of spending nationally. So that is something also important to think about when we think about Medicaid cuts. It's like the people who are going to be most affected are the people who amount for more of that spending, right? So that's, like older people or people with a disability. So be thinking about that. So that's kind of a little bit of a background on like what Medicaid is, how many people are covered by Medicaid. So now I want to talk a little bit about the rural aspect, like rural hospitals and rural communities, and how those people like utilize Medicaid, and also how it drastically affects them when Medicaid is cut. So let's talk about that. All right. So I want to talk about rural hospitals. So Medicaid is a vital source of healthcare coverage for Americans living in rural communities. Period. Like that, important. We're talking important. To put it in perspective again, nearly half of all children and 1 in 5 adults in small towns and rural communities rely on Medicaid or CHIP, which is Children's Health Insurance Program, for their health insurance. And as a key insurer for these communities, Medicaid provides much needed finance, I want to say stability, but like as much stability as a rural hospital can have, right? It provides this financial stability for healthcare providers, for health centers, for nursing homes, all this. So it's very important for rural communities. It's their main insurer for rural hospitals. And you might be like, Aliah, what does that have to do with Arkansas? I live in Fayetteville. I live in Little Rock. I live 20 minutes from a hospital. Let me tell you. So over 40% of Arkansans live in rural areas. Arkansas, believe it or not, Arkansas is more than Little Rock and Fayetteville, right? Arkansas, 40% of Arkansans live in rural areas. And when we talk congressional districts, the 1st and 4th congressional districts in the state of Arkansas are like a lot. There are many rural Arkansans who live in those congressional districts specifically. So yeah, over 40% of Arkansans live in rural areas. So This drastically affects Arkansans. When Medicaid is cut from the very top, it drastically affects Arkansans because rural communities rely on Medicaid for their healthcare coverage, period. So I want to talk a little bit more about the impacts of Medicaid cuts. So because Medicaid covers such a large portion of the rural population, rural communities are more likely to experience a larger impact from coverage losses, right? And because people will lose coverage to Medicaid, that means that there will be immense financial pressure on rural hospitals, rural health centers, rural nursing homes, because, people don't have coverage. Along with that, though, not only is it going to be hard on like rural hospitals, but it's going to be hard on people in general, right? Because when people don't have healthcare coverage, here's what happens when people don't have healthcare coverage. When people don't have healthcare coverage, they do not seek the healthcare that they need when they need it, right? So then they're waiting, and then it forces them to go to the emergency room and rack up a bill that they cannot afford, right? And then it puts people into that. It creates a poorer population and a unhealthy population because people are not getting the healthcare they need. And then when they do, they're getting a bill that they cannot afford, puts them into debt, right? And that's like the reality of the situation. That's what happens when people don't have healthcare access in general, let alone when people don't have access to Medicaid, which is rural communities like number one insurer provider, right? That is tough. Also, I'm not like speaking theoretically here. This is actually a reality because I want to read you this. A new report from the Center for Healthcare Quality and Healthcare Reform has revealed that 30 rural hospitals in Arkansas are at risk of shutting down, with 11 facing immediate closure. So this is real. Like, this is something that's happening right now, people. And that is because that is due to the the Medicaid cuts that have happened recently. That is due to that. It's a direct consequence. Right. So that's something. So I want to turn it to you guys right quick. So there was this tweet that says, hearing the impending doom of the rural hospitals is something I hear as regularly as the melting of the polar ice, and about as reliable. Arkansas's version of Al Gore. Enough already. I've been hearing this crap for at least 50 years. I am sick of it. Now, the thing about rural hospitals is they are always at risk of closing down because Medicaid is always on the chopping block. That's not the only reason, obviously, but that's one of the major reasons. Medicaid is always on the chopping block, meaning rural hospitals are always at risk of shutting down. I think if you hear about it enough times, I think if you're like constantly hearing about it, maybe it's time like we do something about it. It's like you're not hearing about it because it's not real. You're hearing about it because it's always happening, and that is crazy. I have another one. That says, this is scary. It's a good thing that we don't have a healthcare crisis or anything. Thank you for saying that. We absolutely do have a health crisis. We have a healthcare crisis. We have a maternal mortality crisis. We cannot afford just as a state to cut healthcare from Arkansans. We already have millions, probably. We have hundreds of thousands of Arkansans who are already uninsured or underinsured, right? We cannot afford to cut more people from their healthcare coverage. I want to remind you, Arkansas ranks 47th in healthcare. And a lot of that has to do with the access, right? It has to do with the access. So I completely agree. We have a healthcare crisis. We cannot afford to cut people from their healthcare, guys. Like I can't with that. I also just want to say, Governor Sarah Gabby Sanders, she's always talking about, we're not giving people a hand out. We're giving them a hand up or a leg up or whatever. In reality, it's kicking the chair out from under people and telling them to get up. That's what we're doing. And that's not right. We are better than that as a state. Arkansas deserves better. So that's all I'm going to say on that. Let's move on. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. It's been so real. I hope y'all learned something. I hope y'all got something out of this video. Medicaid cuts are a danger to us all. They're a danger to our state. We should not be cutting people from their health care. Period. Period. Point blank. We should not be letting Arkansans go uninsured and underinsured. That doesn't help anyone. That creates a less healthy Arkansas. That creates a poorer Arkansas if people can't afford to like go to the doctor without going into debt, right? So I say all that to say, thank y'all for watching. Hope you learned something. Make sure you check out all of our platforms. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on TikTok, we're on Blue Sky, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. So make sure you check all those out. Follow us. Keep up with all our other content. And thank you so much for watching once again. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. All those buttons are there somewhere. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of the day. Bye.